Hello and welcome to another CQPweb tutorial. In this video I'm going to be talking about how we can within the query syntax that we use in this box here in the main corpus screen. I'm going to talk about how we can use the query syntax to access not just the words in the corpus but the tags as well. Now, in order to explain this, we have to mention that in a standard CQPweb corpus, there are several layers in every corpus. Every corpus must have at least one layer that contains the words, but most corpora will have at least one or two more layers that include different levels of annotation. And these levels of annotation can be part of speech tags, they can be lemma annotation, they can be semantic tags, they can be all kinds of things of this nature. If you don't know what these kinds of tags are, then I suggest you read up on them before you try to use them in your own work, because it can get very confusing if you don't understand a bit of the background. There is a book by Garside, Leach and McHenry called Corpus Annotation, which edited by Garside, Leach and McHenry, I should say, which explains what each of these things are. So you can have a look at that if you're not 100% on what these different types of annotation are. Now, in this video, I'm just going to talk about how we can access the first type of annotation in a CQPweb corpus, which is what we call the primary annotation. And the primary annotation, depending on exactly how your corpus has been set up, because of course everything is configurable in CQPweb, but usually most corpora will be set up so that the primary annotation, the most important annotation, the one that is easiest to access, is a part of speech tag. And primary annotations are accessed using a special character. So this is another special character in the syntax that if you want to search for itself, then you'd need to escape it. The special character is an underscore. And what an underscore does is, when you specify a pattern for a word that has an underscore in it, then whatever is before the XXX, that represents the word form you're searching for. And whatever comes after, which we put there as TTT, that represents the part of speech tag. So, if I search for, I don't know, strange, then strange is usually an adjective, isn't it? Well, let's say my adjective tag is ADJ. That is how I would search for it. Okay, that's the basic principle. Now, in order to use part of speech tags effectively, you have to know what tag set has been used to tag your corpus. And if your corpus has been set up correctly on CQPweb, then all the tag sets that have been used for different layers of the annotation will be listed here under corpus info. And in this case, the tag set that has been used to tag this corpus is something called the clause 7 tag set, which is a set of grammatical categories annotated by the clause software. So if I click on that, it will take me to an external location that has been configured into the corpus, and this external location is designated as the place to look up the list of tags. And so the list of tags for the clause 7 tag set is here in this table. So these are the tags that occur in the corpus, and these are the definitions. Okay. Now you will need to refer to this if you are using searches with an underscore. There is until you've done a lot of work with a tag set, you're never going to hold it all in your head, especially one like clause 7, which has 150 odd tags in it. So these are your first steps. First, find out what tag set is being used in your corpus. Then consider what exactly it is you're searching for. One of the most interesting things that we can do with part of speech tags is disambiguate in our searches between words that can have more than one part of speech. So, for instance, the word May can be either a noun, in which case it refers to the month of May, or it can be a modal verb, meaning possibility or something like that. These are spelt exactly the same, but they are distinguished by different tags. So, again, I know this tag set very well, so I can go straight to the answer, which is here. NP1, singular proper noun. That is what is used if it's May as in the month. Oh, sorry, I do tell a lie. It should be NPN1, NPM1. Clearly I don't know the tag set all that well. Anyway, so NPN1, May. On the other hand, if it's a modal, the tag for that is VM, modal auxiliary. So first let's try a search for May on its own. And you can see that most of them are the modal, but you do get the occasional example of the month. And if you hover over, you can actually see parts of speech tags pop up, and you can see May is indeed the NPM1, and when it's a modal, it is indeed VM. So if we go back, or if we go new query, let's say we want just the modal verbs. It's very simple, as I say, type the word, and again, we don't need to worry about case because we're on case insensitive mode, and type the tag VM, May as a modal verb. No instances of the month there. The tagger is even clever enough to spot whether it's the modal or the month, even when the capital letters don't give it a hint. Exactly the same way we can do May underscore NPM1. NPM1 means proper noun for a month. Proper noun month. And then the 1 means singular. And there we go. Yes, most of those seem to be the month. Can't see any errors there. If a corpus has been tagged by a computer, which most are, then you will find errors occasionally. So that illustrates the value of part of speech tags. They allow you to disambiguate word forms that can be either one thing or another. And CQPweb makes it very easy for you to access those tags using the underscore notation. One thing that's important to remember is that you must not put spaces on between a word and its tag. So if I'd done May underscore NPM1 with spaces, that would not have worked. The whole thing represents one word. It's two features of one word, but it's all one word, and therefore no spaces in the query syntax. What else can we do with tags? Well, again, this depends on you exploring the tag set to find out what's interesting. But one thing that CQPweb will let you do is specify a search for a tag without saying anything about the word that you want it to attach to. So if I just delete May and say just find NPM1, well, that will find any noun that is the name of a month. So should be examples of January, February, March, April, all the way through. Yes, lots and lots of different month names. And again, you could think of reasons why that would be a handy thing to be able to do. On a grammatical level, you could put in the tag for a grammatical element, such as a determiner. Let's go for singular determiner, DD1. Underscore before to indicate that it's a tag, not a word. We don't specify a word, so we can have any word form that has the tag DD1. This will take a while because determiners are quite frequent. There we are. And here we've got all the examples of any kind of determiner in the whole corpus. This, that, each, another. That seems to be the common ones. I'm obviously not going to go through all 9,000, but yeah, this and that are especially the most common. So that's another use of tags. So we saw we can use them with a word to disambiguate it when it could have more than one part of speech tag. We can use a tag on its own to search for all examples of that part of speech tag, no matter what the word is. The third thing that we can do is that we can use wildcards in the tag. We talked about 3 wildcards in another of these tutorials. The question mark, which means any one character, the star, which means anything, 0 or more characters, and the plus, which means 1 or more characters. You can use these when you specify a word, but you can also use these when you specify a tag. Now this is very handy when you have a tag set like the clause 7 tag set, because when you look through this list you will notice that they are all organized so that the first letter of the tag is a major category and then the rest of the other letters indicate subdivisions. So all of these tags starting in D are determiners. Likewise, if we go down, all of the tags starting in N are different sorts of noun. And right down at the bottom, all of the tags starting in V are different sorts of verb. What this means is that if we're not interested in the fine distinctions between different sorts of noun, different sorts of verb, we can use the wildcard to make life easy. We can do, for instance, V star to indicate any tag starting with a V. V, then any number of characters until the end. So any tag starting with V, or any tag starting with N. This is a very useful way to go about things. So, let me give another example. Let's take another example of a word that can be either a verb or a noun. Let's take the word talk. If we do talk underscore V star, and let's put in the different morphological forms of talk. Talks, talked, talking, and then talk on its own. And then tag them as a verb. There we go. So we should get all the different morphological forms of talk as a verb. Yes, indeed. And if we go back and we change that to a noun, then we should only get those forms when they're used as nouns. Now, so mostly talk and talks now, but then maybe, yes, there's an example of talking as a noun. Talked with ed on the end isn't usually able to be a noun, and so it's not surprising that there's no examples of that here. So that's how we can use the star wildcard. We can also be more specific with the wildcards, because if you look at the verb tags in particular, you will notice that some verbs, in fact most verbs, are covered by these tags, the tags that start in VV. These are tags for lexical verb. And the way these work is that first you've got the V that indicates a verb, and you've got the second V that indicates it's a lexical verb, and then you've got the inflection. 0, D, G, I, N. I won't go into the details now. But if you look a bit higher, you'll see that the auxiliary verbs in English all have a different second letter. They have an H, or a D, or a B. B for be, to be, D for to do, H for to have. Now imagine you're searching for past participles in a corpus. You could search for just VVN, past participle of lexical verb. And you might add a star so that you cover VVNK as well, which is a minor grammatical variant. But that leaves out the past participle of done, the past participle of have, and the past participle of be. How do we include them all? Well, if VVN is just the normal past participle, and if adding a star will catch VVNK as well, then taking out that second V and putting in a question mark, which could be either V or B or H or D, that will catch them all. So let's run that query. That should find all past participles of lexical verbs, also of be, also of have, also of do. And indeed, there we are. There's been and had, then lots of lexical verbs. Do we have a done anywhere here? I can't find an example of done. Well, there's not one on the first page, but there will be examples of done further through there. Again, 26,000 matches. I'm not going to look through them all. So those are just some examples of the different ways in which we can use the primary annotation, which for this corpus and for all the other corpora on my CQPweb server at Lancaster and many other people's servers as well, that primary annotation is a part of speech tag. And the key for it is, remember, the underscore. That's the end of this tutorial. That's all for now.